jab, uppercut, leave you laid out on the floor. Try to duck and roll, hit and miss, now you counting stars. Should've practiced more, should've hit the mask, get out there more. Claim that you're the best. You gotta show me, son. Actions over words, baby boy. Is you real or what? Talking way too much, world come. Back sports, talking way too much, world come. Back sports, talking way too much, world come. Back sports,
Yeah, once again, thanks for tuning in. You're listening to World Combat Sports. Salute and good morning, goddammit. First off, salute to the WCS supporters, man. The ones that they mesh with your boy and tune in every time that I'm live. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate y'all for pulling up. Yeah, this might be an unfavorable type of topic to some, but it has to, you have to understand, I do slice the bread, differently sometimes when it comes to this reporting. And you have to talk about boxing and MMA because that is what my repertoire consists of. You tune in, you might learn something. It's all good. It's all good. Shout out to the people in the workforce, man, that's out there getting it in. I appreciate you. Best wishes out there, providing for yourself and your family and during these tough times, man. That goes to everybody. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. If you haven't already heard, right, while we're bringing up mixed martial arts to be to have a presence in the Olympics, they're pretty much trying to do away with boxing in 2028 in the Olympics. Did you hear what I said? They're actually considering mandating that boxing may be absent from the 2028 Olympics. Why? As long as boxing has been around, why doesn't boxing excel more in the highest, on the highest stage of the amateur ranks? Now, I know that you can be a professional, still compete. You know what the hell I'm talking about. Why isn't boxing more prestigious to fight in the Olympic level at this point in time? You know, all the decades and hard work that's put in for this sport to thrive, you know what I'm saying, to cultivate itself into a giant. It hasn't, especially on the Olympic level. The Olympic level is sending a message, y'all, because they're implementing mixed martial arts into the Olympics, just so you know. They are. And you may say to yourself, well, boxing was already there, so therefore they're only doing what boxing has already done. Yeah, you might be right in a certain case. But what I'm saying is, at this stage in existence, and we've watched boxing, why would it be phasing out? Why would they consider it to be phased out of the Olympics at this point in time? Are they finally having an epiphany of how many fighters was absolutely robbed when it comes to boxing? How much corruption and scandal came from this shit? I don't know. But you look at my thumbnail. You look at my thumbnail, people. It tells a story all of its own. When you look at mixed martial arts, you have to look at it in all the lights that are shining, the multiple castings that it has. It's not just the UFC, okay? We're talking about Bellator. We're talking about IFL, PFL. We're talking about one championship. Maybe we're talking about all the microcosms that's out there. We're talking about every promotion that's playing a role in mixed martial arts. But the great thing that's allowing mixed martial arts to skyrocket it to the front, to the highest tier, above boxing at a high rate of speed, is because of their organizational structure, y'all. MMA has an organizational structure that eliminates the possibility for all the corruption that takes place in boxing. They have a commander in chief of COC. They have that. They have a purpose to ensure that they're not as open ended and it's no one running the asylum. So they have a president. A president, y'all. They have a president. Let's take the top two tiers of mixed martial arts. Let's just look at Bellator and UFC. They have a president. Bellator fighters do not cross thread and they're not able to fight from Bellator to UFC at random. It doesn't matter who their manager is or any of that. They're unallowed to do it. It's not part of the structural program. It's no way that a fighter in the UFC can take it upon himself and fight in another organization while they're contractually obligated. Nor do UFC and Bellator cross thread competitions in weight classes. The biggest point of when it comes to MMA and boxing is that right now you have mixed martial arts. For one, considered the creme de la creme of promotions, the UFC. Dana White has shown time and time again, he's a single entity. He's a well-known face. He has shown several times over that he's not scared about sliding a UFC slot on the weekend when it's a boxing card. He's been sending the message for quite some time. Dana White will slide a UFC card into the same slot. Back then, people really didn't pay attention because they was like, there's no way he can do that. The UFC is not as popular as MMA is not as popular as boxing because most of the time people say UFC boxing, but really it's mixed martial arts. How would he even dare do that? But now it's coming down to a regular sighting. Dana White is actually taking the helm over the past years and showed that he's not afraid to compete with the sport of boxing. This has nothing to do with him saying that, he would like to dibble and dabble in boxing. This is strictly mixed martial arts, y'all. The way Dana White is pushing this ship out to shore, it has done incredible viewership numbers and popularity changeovers while boxing is still struggling to sustain any type of notoriety or respect. When you speak of boxing, do you ever listen? People are always talking about controversy. When it comes to mixed martial arts, people are talking about, damn, that was a damn good fight. Oh my God. Shit, that was a damn good fight. I love that shit. And when it comes to boxing, it's always dealing with some type of controversy. This should have happened. That should have happened. I'm not saying it's no positivity to it, but when it comes down to your fighter winning, cool. Your fighter was able to win. But more times than not, you get a discussion dealing with controversy. And also look at this PPV structure that's going on. When you hear the chorus of boxing speak about PPV, people always want to say if this fighter gonna sell, this fighter gonna sell, this, that, and the other. We can't put them on PPV because they don't sell. They need to find a fighter to put butts in the seats and all this. Do you hear that from when Dana White puts on the card? Dana White puts on the card with PPV. Either you're gonna get what you get. Either it's gonna be a super heavy card or it's going to be a card that you'll tune in because they built it up pretty nicely. And what I respect so much about, what UFC and Bellator is doing is the fact that they're not slowing down. They always have cards, cards, cards. They would give you the PPV. Either you're going to pay for the PPV or you're not. We're talking about having around 14 fights on the card, dog. And let me educate y'all on something. It's 5 minutes per round. 5 times 3 is 15 minutes. 15 minutes, y'all. 15 minutes. I'm talking about fight time. That's 15 minutes you have. If we want to get anywhere close to that, in boxing, I think people are misinterpreting the shorter rounds in mixed martial arts comparable to the rounds in boxing, because it takes a lot of work to move around in a fight for 5 minutes per round. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of damn strategy. You really got to tactically endure or inflict. You know what I'm saying? Whether you're enduring punishment or inflicting it. You got to really think. You have to be smart at what you do. But the entire structure, though, of how they put on these fights with like 14 fights on the card. And then they're putting on 2 and 3 championship fights on these cards. Now, you have to understand how this is incredibly mind-blowing. It's the fact that they have a strawweight women's division, a flyweight, a bantamweight, and a featherweight. That's only 4 divisions, y'all. 4 divisions. You match that 4 divisions up to the women's divisions in boxing, and it still doesn't add up to nothing. But guess what? When it comes to mixed martial arts, the women fighters are getting more notoriety than the female fighters. Listen to what I'm telling you. You don't see women fighters going around protesting all the time to be recognized and respected and this, that, and the other. They have in the past, for recognition. But guess what? They've been fighting on the same playing field as the males for quite some time. The women fights the same amount of rounds as the males. 3 5-minute rounds. If you in like a main event, a co-main event, or whatever, a championship fight, you fight 5-minute rounds. The women in mixed martial arts are killing the notoriety of the female boxers. There's more people you strike up a conversation, they'll tell you about a female mixed martial artist before they'll tell you about female boxing. You get the who to yeah, I know that person right there. She fought so and so. They can even link up a fight. There should be huge concern about mixed martial arts and how special, that I treat mixed martial arts and learning the craft of what I call the muddy flats, dirty sport. It's unbelievable. The way it's came up from the early 90s to now, it's just done such an amazing job at its growth. Even when it was struggling at that point in time, it grown so exponentially. It got to a point where the organization was purchased for $4 billion, 4.025, I believe. And then just this year, they purchased the remaining owners of the UFC for 1.7 billion. Now, if you tell me those people didn't make out, that's crazy. And then look at the transparency. The transparency for mixed martial arts is still thriving. You know what I appreciate most is that you know who you're dealing with. Like, we know Scott Coker, who he is at Bellator. We know who Dana White is. There's no mystery shit going on here. There's no, well, so and so is on this side, so and so is on that side. You have fighters who are contending internally to that promotion, who's making money and getting title shots. You have fighters who are basically allowed the opportunity. Boom, they go in there and they lose that title shot. And the plan and the format is, okay, let me put you back in there with this person. Boom, you win. And put you back in there with that person. And then potentially you may be right back in the cut, in the shoot for a title shot again. Look at Dustin Diamond Poirier, right? Dustin Diamond Poirier, right? He is one of the top names in the UFC. His record is 28-7. Another important food for thought is that in mixed martial arts, they really don't care about the losses as much as boxing. That people still treat them with the utmost respect, so to speak. They can go in there and have an entertaining fight and lose, but people still respect them, right? Way more respect than what we see in boxing. Dustin Diamond Poirier has been in there some of the biggest names you can imagine. From the Bobby Greens, the Michael Johnson, Jim Millers, the Underground King Eddie Alvarez, Anthony Pettis, Justin Highlight Gaethje, Max Holloway. Now let's talk about this shit with Max Holloway. And this is what I'm saying about how boxing, you get a title shot and you lose, and then you turn back around, you hardly never see that person again. People's playing around. What we gonna do? They put him back in there with the champ again. The champ just don't have to say, well, hey, do you think it's a rematch? Hell no. When you have a structure like mixed martial arts, it's no hell no. It's up to the president. It's up to the promotion, the matchmaker. It's up to Sean Shelby. It's up to all of them getting together and talking. So we get the best fighting the best in mixed martial arts. I repeat, we get the best fighting the best in mixed martial arts. That's a huge part of why I fuck with the sport so heavy. The way they do business, the entertainment factor, all of it. I'm not waiting, dangling around, being hypnotized and shit, and then people snapping their finger. Hey, news article came out. I think this fight finally happening. Who put out the article? Oh, so-and-so. You're getting sleepy. Sleepy. It's a whole trance once again. They put you back in the trance state. Anyway, back to Dustin Diamond Poirier. He stepped in there with Max Holloway for the interim lightweight title. Max Holloway was moving up from featherweight. All right. So he went in there, Max being a smaller guy against Dustin Diamond Poirier. Boom. It was a very back and forth war. This, both of them fighters was lighting each other up, and he beat Max Holloway, who then went back down to 145, which he's most suitable at. He was a little bit too small for 155. So he finally gets the shot. This is Dustin Diamond Poirier. I'm mentioning him for a reason. Just stick with me. He goes in here in 2019, September 2019, y'all. That's right before the pandemic. And he fights Khabib the Nurmagomedov. Now, this is the same Khabib that already fought Conor McGregor and subbed him in for, right? He goes in there and loses in round 3 via rear naked choke. All right? All right? Khabib is considered one of the baddest men on the planet. This is 2019. I want you to just reflect upon this. Reflect upon how long it takes another boxer in this time window to rebound and get another title shot. And we're talking about someone with the amount of losses that Dustin Poirier has. He went to this fight with Khabib with 5 losses already. Khabib was undefeated. Moving on. All right. Remember that date, September 2019. So in 2020, during the pandemic, in the bubble, no audience, he fought Dan Hooker, winning the decision. In 2021, one of the more infamous, rematches finally revisited, returned between him and Conor McGregor. He beat Conor McGregor in round 2. This was January 2021. This is about a year and a half. About a year and a half from his loss to Khabib. 3rd round now sub. He goes back in there in July of 2021 and defeats Conor McGregor again. Now, granted, check this out. Conor McGregor has not really did too much of any damn thing except win a 40-second stoppage over Cowboy Cerrone, in which I felt like he didn't even put up. He just went and collected the check, and it was nothing special. He beats Conor McGregor in a trilogy. He finishes off, and Conor had a broken ankle, whatever the fuck it was, in the first round. But since that Floyd situation, Conor McGregor never really excelled to the top. It took him a long time. He should thank Floyd for the rest of his life because all the millions that he made, and then his proper 12 whiskey brand that he has is making him a lot of money. So he's doing well. In December 2021, December 11th, it just passed. Dustin is back in there for a title shot. And the crazy part about this is that Khabib Nurmagomedov's fathers passed away from COVID, vacated the title, and then Dana White took 2 individuals to fight for the title, to get an established champion. Charles Oliveira gets to fight Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler was a former champion over at Bellator, former world champion. He comes over here. Do you really want to hear this story about Michael Chandler? For real. Because I'm trying to tell you how they work over here. Let me give you a brief history on Michael Chandler fighting Charles Oliveira first before I go into Dustin Poirier. I'm just trying to give you a brief summation on how things come full circle in this mixed martial arts game as far as title shots. It's simply amazing, people. Charles Oliveira is one of those guys who've been trying to get that title shot. He's had his up and down, but he was on a winning streak, all right? So therefore, when Khabib Nurmagomedov retired, the matchmaker, Sean Shelby, came up with a title fight for the vacant, right? So that ended up becoming Charles Oliveira and Michael Chandler, the former Bellator champion who had crossed over and had some success. His first fight in the UFC was Dan Hooker. And they was gonna pretty much be a title eliminator. He knocks out Dan Hooker in round 1 and gets a shot with Oliveira. Oliveira stops him. This is I think May of 2021. He stops him. He stops Michael Chandler. He stops him. Michael Chandler, listen to what I'm about to tell you. Michael Chandler gets another opportunity to fight a big name fighter in November 2021 in Justin Gaethje. This is top ranked opponents. You lose, it doesn't cast you out in the closet. These are top ranked opponents. Michael Chandler loses to Charles Oliveira in May. Then he's back in there in November fighting Justin Gaethje. So peep this out. Charles Oliveira on a winning streak. Dustin Poirier has defeated Michael Chandler early in 2021. Instead of really looking at it like, well, who are we going to put in here? You know, he just lost in 2019 for a title shot. Charles Oliveira haven't had a title shot yet. Michael Chandler was a previous champion at Bellator. You know what I'm saying? He gets his shot. He loses to Charles Oliveira. All right, he loses. Dustin Poirier, he had been in there with Khabib the Nurmagomedov, loses in round 3. Loses. So he fights and he wins a trilogy. He fights Conor McGregor twice. Conor McGregor ain't did shit. But in boxing, if you fighting somebody ain't did shit, you don't get the recognition to get in there with a title shot. You got to fight somebody that's close to the top ranking tier, right? So Dustin Poirier, he comes off a win earlier this year from Michael Chandler, and he steps in there with Charles Oliveira. He goes in there and loses to Charles Oliveira round 3. He loses again in the same round that he lost to Khabib. Khabib stopped him in the 3rd round, and Charles Oliveira stopped him in the 3rd round. The point I'm trying to make is the presentation of how he was able to get another title shot in the lightweight division in this amount of time from 2019 to now. Not only that, he fought Conor McGregor of all people, which ain't doing nothing. Yeah, he was a former 2-division champion, but he haven't did too much of shit lately. And he was able to get another title shot. The whole entire dynamic about that lightweight division with Khabib vacating the title and leaving and how they did it was amazing. They allowed Charles Oliveira to fight for the vacant title, and they just allowed 2 fighters to have a title eliminator to fight Charles Oliveira. And Michael Chandler was the one who was able to get that shot. You know what I'm saying? Michael Chandler heading into this fight with Charles Oliveira defeated a guy who many would not consider a high-level championship caliber title eliminator. They wouldn't look at it like that. But hey, that's Dan Hooker, right? Just the mere fact that they gave Dan Hooker and Michael Chandler an opportunity. You know, with Michael Chandler just coming over from Bellator, having had no fights in the UFC, he comes over from Bellator and he gets a shot at Dan Hooker, knocks him out. Now he's in the title shot. Now he's in a title shot. Do you ever think that can happen in boxing? He's in a fucking title shot, dog. He comes over from another promotion. And that's the distinct difference when it comes to organizational structure. You have Bellator, you have the UFC who operates in their own entity. They have their own monopoly board. Michael Chandler comes over here in his first fight. Dan Hooker, he knocks him out. He gets a title shot. Justin Gaethje, coming from the World Series of Fighting, had a much tougher role. He was a champion over there. He fought the likes of Luis Palomino, who's a dog. I mean, you look at Justin Gaethje's highlight reel. Justin Gaethje was crazy. He came on this motherfucker undefeated, lost to Dustin Poirier, and he lost to Eddie Alvarez. That's Justin Gaethje. But I thought he had a much more tougher road than Michael Chandler to get his title shot finally. And when he finally stepped in there with Tony Ferguson and had that unbelievable performance and get the shot with Khabib, he was subbed out in 2 rounds. But the point I'm making is the entire fact that Charles Oliveira faced off against Dustin Poirier, who was subbed out in 3 rounds, by considerably one of the best pound for pound guys if he was active, Khabib. And from 2019, May of 2019, it takes him only a short period of time to return back. That's after winning the interim title, losing the championship fight, happened to fight whoever they put in him, primarily two of those with Conor McGregor, to step back in there for a world championship title and loses again. And you know what? People are still like, they're not dogging him out. They're like, well, Charles Oliveira, he's a better guy. Maybe Dustin Poirier should move up, this, that, and the other. It's still, they're talking up fights for him. It's other fighters in the organization say, hey, come on, move up the welterweight. Move up to 170 pounds. Let's fight. It's still some fights out here for you. You don't hear all the derogatory comments going on. It's sometimes if you stink up the place, yeah, they're going to give you what you asked for if you stink up the place in mixed martial arts. But what I'm saying is the turnaround, the scope of the turnaround is amazing. The rotation of the top provides you constant entertainment of the top tier names in mixed martial arts. There's no lottery going on. You're not playing the lottery here. You're not going around waiting and fights to materialize. The only fight that's just weird and strange in a whole lot of ways, it brings you that spooky, ominous, feeling. It's the fact that Khabib Nurmagomedov and Tony Ferguson was canceled 5 times. For whatever reason, that fight wasn't meant to happen. Indeed, when he became close enough to fight and beat Khabib Nurmagomedov, something else happened with Tony. He wasn't cleared. He ended up having to fight Justin Gaethje and got destroyed. Styles make fights. It doesn't mean he would have went in there with Khabib and got destroyed. It's just the fact that stylistically, Justin Gaethje's stand-up game was too much for Tony Ferguson. And anybody who pretty much followed Khabib, his stand-up game is not that he can't strike with you. It's the fact he chooses not to strike with you. He'll throw some punches here and there, but it's entire, instinct is to close the distance and get you to react, or to just shoot in on you and force you to defend his takedowns. And if you don't get the first one, you got to defend the second one, the third one, the fourth one, the fifth one, and sixth one. That's how Khabib is, bro. Hold on for a minute. Okay, we back. Let's change over to the second page on what I was talking about at first with the women. The women mixed martial artists. And shout out to everyone in the chat, man. I ain't see y'all over here. Shout out to everyone that's in the chat, bro. Stilo is on deck. What's good with you, Doug? Salute. I mean, when you get we got 3 women in plus and like 5 plus 600 to 850K PPV sold out show every week for a whole year. I get why he is able to do what he does. Dana White is the best promoter in combat sport promotion history. Every MMA champion, not Francis, has had 3 title defenses or 3 title fights in 2021. That's crazy. I mess with the transparency, both when it comes to the business side, how they operate, and drug testing. They doing what boxing should be doing. Facts. We're about to get Volkanovski versus Max 3. He is 0-2 in boxing. He's 0-2 in boxing. You ain't getting no shot against the same guy the third time. Hey, Stilo, appreciate you, bro. Appreciate that info. Real talk. Good shit. Good shit. For real. So let me elaborate on some of the things you said. So he pretty much mentioned every MMA champion, not Francis, had 3 title defenses. And that's coming in rotation. That's absolutely true. The title defense is gonna bring the fans to watch the fight. When you have a fight card and you have 3 championship fights, 2 championship fights, and most of the time, you know, these champions, these champions are fighting the best in their division. And you know what? You either have to be that good to hold your belt, or you're going to be unseated. You're going to be kicked off the throne. You know what I'm saying? You're going to lose your title. That's how it is, because the UFC keeps on and on and on. Before you know it, you know, you might have as while you're champion, you might have fought somebody twice already. You might have subbed them out in mixed martial arts before, and then they're back at it, and the fight might go the distance. Or in this case with Amanda Nunes recently, I remember hearing how the boxing media was talking about, you know, I was trying to explain this to them, that Amanda Nunes' highest weight that she really contends at is 135. Though she has a title at 145, she would have never crossed over to boxing, and Carissa never would have crossed over to MMA. But then looking at this fight that she just lost to Julia Pena, it was via submission. And Amanda Nunes didn't look like she was in top form. Plus, she's now, you know, with her young child, you know, her and her wife, or have they started their family and everything. So who knows what's going on? Family's supposed to change you in a way. It's just all about how you come back from it. That's tough. People handle the shit differently. But we know that the champions are fighting the best. Look at the Rose Namajunas. She just received a big award. Amazing story with Rose. I remember when she came out the Ultimate Fighter and fought Carla Esparza. Look, she came out the Ultimate Fighter and fought Carla Esparza and lost. Esparza became the world champion. Rose had to go on a journey to pick up wins and work herself right back into title contention. That fight was stepping in there with Karolina Kowalskiewicz. She's ended up losing again in the title. Karolina would go on to fight Joanna Jędrzejczyk at the time. Joanna Jędrzejczyk defeated who? Carla Esparza. So now Jędrzejczyk is the champion. She beats Karolina Kowalskiewicz to just beat Thug Rose Namajunas. Thug Rose come around and it's her chance to beat. And she makes history, y'all. She makes history. That puts Thug Rose Namajunas on the fucking map. What did Dana White do? Dana White said, okay, no time to sit up here and just marinate with that title there, Thug. He gave Joanna Jędrzejczyk an immediate rematch, dog. An immediate fucking rematch. Look, hear me, boxing heads, because I'm one too. Hear me, boxing heads that seem to want to strictly focus on one sport. Look at what I'm telling you, how they do shit over there. She knocked out Joanna Jędrzejczyk in round 1, and Dana White give her a rematch. He didn't even allow Rose to take any lighter competition or anything like that. Immediate rematch. And it went 5 rounds, y'all. It went 5 fucking rounds. Rose defended her title once, goes in there against Jessica Andrade, boom, dumped on her head, loses her title. Jessica Andrade, she goes in there against Wally Zhang, this Chinese fighter. She goes in there and try to do power for power. She loses. Wally Zhang goes in there against Joanna Jędrzejczyk, who was a former champion, who had, opportunities to fight for the title. She goes in there and loses against Wally Zhang. But it's the fact that she got another title shot. Who's coming back from being dumped on their head? Thug Rose Namajunas. You know who she had to fight to get back in there with Wally Zhang? The same person who beat her, Jessica Andrade. Because when Jessica Andrade dumped Thug Rose on her head, she lost the title. And Jessica would go on to lose the title to Wally Zhang. Thug Rose come back around and fight Jessica Andrade a second time and wins. The same person she lost her title to allowed her to have a title eliminated, get back in there with the champ. And she goes in there and knocks out Wally Zhang in one fucking round, dog, with a head kick. Not only that, Thug Rose comes back around and Wally Zhang gets the rematch. They threw Joanna Jędrzejczyk in there twice with Thug Rose Namajunas. Twice. And they threw the toughest one. The one who set the stage on fire. She defeated one top tier named Jessica Andrade, and she turned around and defeated another top name, Joanna Jędrzejczyk. They send Rose back in there. They did the same thing to Wally Zhang that they did to Thug Rose, put in there with tough competition. It's no sitting around, glorifying, taking pictures. Boom. We're going to give you a rematch with Zhang Wali. And they go in there and battle that shit and go the distance. Now, I want you to equate what Thug Rose was able to do to these two individuals. And they still was able to get title shots. She knocked them both out in one fucking round. Do you think in boxing, you get knocked out in one round, you getting a title shot anytime soon? Do you believe? I'm talking about in your sober state of sanity. Do you believe that if you get knocked out in the first round, they can say, hey, go ahead and give him a title shot. We're gonna give him like 7 months, put him back in there for a title shot. Really, the only thing that comes to mind a little bit when you're talking about strict knockouts, that people get an opportunity, it takes me back to the Lennox Lewis and Hakeem Rahman, when he was knocked out. I'm just saying him knocked out, and he was able to get that title shot back. You know what I'm saying? Recently, we can go to the Dillian White, Alexander Povetkin situation, where Dillian was actually having success in that, but he got knocked out fucking cold. Even in that boxing state, it doesn't compare to this mixed martial arts. It's amazing how they rotate these fighters into, they say, hey, we're going to provide you the opportunity to get a title shot later. So the fighters aren't discouraged. They aren't sitting up here like, damn, I had my opportunity. Fuck. What do I do now? What I'm doing? No, they just basically discard and they jealous them like trash, man. They put them off to the side. They have to fight all these names and whatever. And it might be a long time before we see that individual back in the ring with a champion, y'all. Hey, a champion. Neither to say someone that's in the high rank. There's someone ranked in the top 5, even the top 8. Check this out, though. I miss let me continue to read this. Facts we're about to get Vogue. D-Ray in the building. What's good? Bruce goes on deck. D-Ray, salute my brother. Bruce goes, get Bruce shut out of here. I appreciate you. Y'all see these little bots getting Let's just get him up out of here. Let me block him. Bruce goes on deck. Somebody's already did it. Appreciate you. It's a Russian virus. You got to hide it and hit it. You the sniper. There you go. Hold up, Bruce. You don't have a wrench, Bruce? What am I doing? Let me get Bruce Goes a wrench, man. There you go there, Bruce. I didn't know you wasn't a wrench. For real. There you go, Bruce. But check this out. Let me show you a picture right quick. Let me show you a picture. These three women right here are more known than your champion boxers. These three women right here, Valentina Shevchenko, who contends at the 125-pound division, flyweight. Thug Rose Namajunas is number 2, who competes. She's a champion at strawweight. And of course, Amanda Nunes, man, the lioness. She just lost her title to Julia Pena via second round submission. But she still is the 145-pound champion. Now, I said there was 4 women's division, right? These are the champion of the women's division. And people know them. They know who these women are. If you mention Rose Namajunas, they know who she is, man. They know her story. They know what she was dealing with her family with mental health issues. They know about Valentina Shevchenko, previously contending at 135 pounds, losing twice to damn Amanda Nunes. Then they opened up a ladies' 125 pounds flyweight division, had a contention for the vacant title with Nico Montano. Nico won, and they matched her up. The next fight, they matched Nico Montano up to this one right here, number 1, Valentina Shevchenko. Right off the rip. She won the vacant title, and they said, okay, you fighting Valentina Shevchenko. She's dropping down. They end up stripping Montano because right before the fight, she's doing press week and seeing like everything cool, and she dips out saying she had a stomach ailment, thought she was going to hold on to the title and shit. Dana White stripped her, y'all. Stripped her of the motherfucking title and created another title bout for Valentina Shevchenko. That's the OG shit Dana doing, man. That's the OG shit he's doing. You continue to put fights on with reputable names. You get the popularity out there because they're fighting the best, people. You know what I'm saying? They're fighting the best. This shit is insane how easy it is. You know what I'm saying? To identify these women because of their performances. That's how easy it is. So when Nico Montano was freaking stripped of her title, Dana White said, hey, look, you're talking about Valentina Shevchenko dropping down from bantamweight to flyweight. He said, hey, we're going to put you in here. Now, this is going to blow your mind once again, people. This is going to blow your motherfucking mind. We're talking about how MMA is stomping all over boxing. Valentina Shevchenko drops down a division and gets a title shot. She gets a title shot. The champion, she goes out, she gets stripped. They put her in there with none other than who? Joanna Jędrzejczyk, the same one I mentioned earlier. And you probably saying to yourself, how's that possible? You said that she was at another weight division. Exactly. Exactly. Joanna was at strawweight. They allowed her to move up to flyweight and fight for the vacant flyweight championship when Valentina Shevchenko moved down this motherfucker, dog. Another freaking title shot. Shevchenko wins via unanimous decision, and Valentina Shevchenko goes on to defend her title. Check out these names. Jessica I. Liz Camooch. Yeah, the same Liz Camooch who fought Ronda Rousey in the open women's 135-pound debut. You know, I'm talking about the first fight of women mixed martial arts under the UFC promotional banner was Ronda Rousey and Liz Camooch, my girl, my simplified comrade. She almost had Ronda Rousey in a rear naked, standing rear naked sub, and Ronda fall out of it. She defended against Liz Camooch, y'all. Caitlin Chudikin. That's 3 defenses now. It's 3 defenses. Let me give you this timeline. She won the title in December 2018. She defended in June 2019. August 2019, she has second offense against Liz Camooch. February 2020, right before the pandemic, she fight Caitlin Chudikin. Go through the pandemic, right when they start opening back up and fighting without a crowd and shit. November 2020, she defends again against Jennifer Meyer. Then she defends again against none other, Jessica Andrade. You know the person I just said that defeated Thug Rose for her title at strawweight? Yeah, she moved up to the 125. They gave her a title shot against Valentina Shevchenko. She ended up getting subbed out. And recently, Lauren Murphy. So you got, let me see, that's 5. I'll say about 6 title defenses right there from Valentina Shevchenko. 6 title defenses. 2 of those title defenses at flyweight was against world champions. You know what I'm saying? You had the Joanna. You had the Joanna for the vacant, and then you had Jessica Andrade. You know what I'm saying? You had Liz Camooch who attempted to fight for a championship. But the 2 champions that she ended up fighting again at a higher weight class was Jessica Andrade and I think Jessica I, if I'm not mistaken. It's crazy, bro. It's crazy. But if you look at these 3 right here, Valentina Shevchenko, number 1, number 2, Rose Namajunas, and number 3, Amanda Nunes. The popularity of these 3 ladies, you have to examine the way we go out here and study this media shit and how we talk about the sport. It's some people that don't like mixed martial arts because they really don't take enough time to understand it. And it's a lot that you have to study. So when I hear all the cooking shit, you this, you that, I know more than boxing than you, get over it, because there's no one primary person that's on this YouTube shit that's sitting up here the king of anything. But it's good to broaden your horizon and learn about more than one combat sport. And you cannot report on mixed martial arts like you do boxing. You can't say, oh, he lands this punch, he lands that punch, he lands a kick. That is the embryonic way of doing it. You have to actually know what you're looking at. And in mixed martial arts, you have to sooner or later attend a mixed martial arts event, attend a school, further educate yourself as to what you're watching, what could potentially happen next, what is your fighter doing. Yes, it takes that. It takes that. Why would these 3 ladies be more popular than these women boxers? Every time these women show up to a fight that they're not on, they put the camera on them. Crowd is cheering. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can't make it about race. It's black women who compete. It's black women who compete in mixed martial arts. They just have to make it up to that championship level and do what they do. So this ain't about no race card and you know what fighter isn't getting the opportunity. Dana White allows fighters the opportunity to go through that door. That's one thing I say about mixed martial arts when it comes to this Bellator and UFC promotion. They will allow you to get a belt. They will allow you to fight for a belt. How can you have this many Africans on the male side competing? It's only a matter of time before, if my sisters want to, take up mixed martial arts and train hard enough and become good enough to be champion over there, cool. But it hasn't happened yet. But in comparison to boxing champions, these ladies right here are way more popular as far as notoriety when it comes to combat sports. And that may have a lot to do with how open-ended boxing is on both the male and female side. When you have a commander-in-chief, when you have the president of an organization, and he's basically enforcing law and order, and he's keeping the organization structure tight, clean, and you seeing 14 or 15 fights on the card, people are going to start tuning in to mixed martial arts, big dog. Boxing is going to play catch up. They've been in the hunt to inject mixed martial arts into the Olympics. And now they're talking about phasing out boxing in the Olympics. And it's unfortunate that a lot of our premier memories should be that of positivity, but all we can think about is some of the bigger name U.S. fighters who have been robbed in the Olympics. Some of the boxers who have been robbed. It's wild, though. That shit should get you excited, man. Don't y'all feel some type of way? Andrew Charles on deck. What's good? That's what it is, bro. I don't know what boxing is gonna do if they decide to never put a head of the snake up there. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what it's gonna do. How is it gonna improve? How is boxing going to improve? You know, those of you that studies boxing and cover boxing like I do, right? You have to understand there's nothing wrong with providing flexibility to a sport that you primarily like. You know what I'm saying? That flexibility comes into you just taking the time out to study a different sport. It takes a lot more time and effort when it comes to mixed martial arts. It takes more than a thumbnail. It takes more than having individuals that still talking about what so and so needs a ground game. Why? Why would you say that? Like, explain to me. You know, people don't want to have me on their panel when they talking mixed martial arts because I'm like, why you just say they need a ground game? I remember when the shit was going on with Carissa Shields and about she doesn't have a jiu-jitsu coach in her camp. I say, what? I say, what in the hell are you talking about? She doesn't have a jiu-jitsu coach in her camp. Do you know she's training at Jackson Wink? They have plenty of jiu-jitsu coaches, dog. If you know anything about it and ever attended a school, the students train too. That's how they pick up belts. If you are training in jiu-jitsu in these schools, okay? That's how you pick up belts. If you're in a training environment. But to think that Carissa Shields is over at Jackson Wink and for somebody to have a language down, believe they have the language down to say, she needs a ground coach. She needs somebody to help her with the ground. It is. If I would have had the opportunity to have a dialogue, I would have said, hey, the reason why they're not practicing a lot of ground game, because you have to at least go through the position before submission. You have to remediate over and over again. And with that, they was trying to reserve Carissa's boxing. She had a fight coming up. So therefore, if you're even so-called remediating on the mat with certain submissions, you can get injured. You can tweak something and you can get injured, right? They didn't want that to happen. I'm pretty sure the conversation we had, hey, we don't want her going hard on the mat. We don't want this. So, like I told y'all before, she was gonna suffer from that shit. And what happened at the end of her last fight? Old girl mounted her to tell her that she's not moving like a blue belt, okay? She mounted her just like they used to do back in old school when you get into a schoolyard fight and somebody jump on top of you and shit, and you don't have enough education, you don't have enough skills to remove yourself or transition out of that position. When she said that, somebody told her she's moving like a blue belt. They wasn't serious. They was just playing. She never should have took that, because the mixed martial arts community, they would take that shit serious. Like, oh yeah, it's teenagers out here that's putting hours upon hours upon hours on the mat, grinding with another human being. And you have Carissa, who was going back and forth from boxing to MMA, MMA to boxing. So you definitely have to educate yourself when you say, well, she shouldn't have a ground coach. And what? You know how many champions come out of Jackson Wink? You know how many champions? John Jones was training at Jackson Wink before his recent incident. I mean, look, it just comes with paying attention and basically having the initiative to look at fights, do film study, and spin yourself up on it. That's all I'm saying. It's no reason why MMA should be this close to boxing. Like, when it comes to it, down to it, MMA, they're willing and able to slide into any time slot when it comes to boxing. Period. They don't care anymore. They don't care. They're sliding that motherfucker. They're not like Triller. They're not like Triller when Floyd Mayweather slid in there. And Teofimo Cambosa, they picked up and moved somewhere else and still didn't get the fight. They don't do that shit. I guarantee you won't ever see the UFC or Bellator doing some shit like that. They're unafraid. They're gonna go up there. They're gonna set the card, and that's where they're gonna be. They don't care who's picking that slot. Dana White would say, "Oh, Floyd's coming over here to fight Logan. All right, cool. Good luck with that." And it really was a minor disaster when it comes down to it, because they was fighting in an open arena and it was raining and shit. God damn, shouty. But anyway, y'all ask yourselves about mixed martial arts, man. You know, I always invite people in here to talk about the sport, but I think they always gravitate back to boxing. You gotta want to talk about mixed martial arts and leave boxing out of the equation. You know what I'm saying? Never will you hear me do a comparison with a mixed martial artist in boxing unless we're comparing someone who has fought. Like I always talk about the Amanda Serranos and the Heather Hardys, you know, Carissa Shields, all those female fighters who have jumped over to mixed martial arts. A lot of people didn't know about Heather Hardy and Amanda Serrano. They was acting like Carissa Shields was doing something brand spanking new. Now, Heather Hardy, I seen her get her nose and goddamn crushed from a damn shin kick to the head. She's tough as fuck, man. Amanda Serrano, I seen her over there a little less inviting, boring, but at least she was in the cage. Y'all should really think about, you know, following the sport of MMA. I'm not saying give up boxing, but follow the sport as far as your education to see how differently their metric is when it comes to this combat sport, as far as the promotion goes and as far as putting on fights, the cards. Speak of the dynamic on how everything flows, ebbs and flows from boxing to MMA. And then you tell yourself which one does it smoother. I would say right now, MMA does it smoother. Period. We're sitting over here talking reality TV soap opera type scenario based plots and themes when it comes to boxing. Mixed martial arts, you're pretty much talking about what's going down. This fight is scheduled, just like was mentioned earlier. They mentioned Volkanovski and Max is fighting for a trilogy. That's fact. When you hear some of these big names come into the equation in MMA, more times than none, more times likely, they're gonna fight. It's not any ghost talk. This shit is real life. They're going to fight. They don't play those games. They allow fighters that you think like Frankie Edgar. When Frankie Edgar was knocked out cold by Corey Sandhagen, I didn't think I'd see Frankie Edgar back. I say, damn, that's a brutal knockout for how long Frankie's been fighting. And then they allowed Frankie to come back. And he ended up losing his next fight via TKO stoppage. Crazy. But they allowed him to come back, though. Francis Ngannou. He finally got his title shot, knocked out Stipe Miocic. Stipe Miocic, fireman, he's been out the game for a minute. But if he ever decide to come back, they'll talk it over. Hey, you wanna go in there against Francis again for a trilogy? What you want to do? What you want to do? Let me know. You know what I'm saying? We have Francis, and then who would have thought at the light heavyweight division, dog? That's crazy. And then Israel Adesanya still reigning at 185. Then you're about to see whoever Kamaru Usman fights next. I think he defended his title 5 times already. You know what I'm saying? The man went from some co-hanger on in the motherfucking closet nobody was giving a damn about because he was that boring, to bona fide legitimate, one of the best that ever do it in the welterweight division, one of the top guys ever in mixed martial arts. It's amazing, dog. Who would have thought that shit? This guy was not even on the radar. And they gave him the title shot. And then they keep feeding him and feeding him and feeding him. They even fed him his former stablemate, Gilbert Burns. They fed him. They fed him all the guys that he had a problem with, y'all. They fed Kamaru Usman all the problems that you've seen play out. From Jorge Masvidal to Kobe Covington. He fought both of them twice, y'all. That's why MMA is sitting where he at on my thumbnail. 2 guys that he had problems with. All right, cool. We'll make the fight. Cool. We'll give you Jorge Masvidal again. We'll give you Kobe Covington for a second time. Cool. No problem. Oh, you want Gilbert Burns? BJJ World Champion? No problem. Kamaru Usman's never been BJJ World Champion. He was just a high-level wrestler. You know, had college success, all that. Going there against a world standard BJJ World Champion. Stops him. Stops him. Shows respect. Man, I'm telling you, bro, I can give you 100 scenarios on what makes me extremely happy about mixed martial arts and where it's at right now. Because if I'm filling my appetite with solid foods, you know what I'm talking about, solid foods. I'm not talking about sipping on a smoothie. I'm talking about solid foods. That's mixed martial arts. I'm getting solid foods. My nutritional value is up when I speak on mixed martial arts. When I look over there and see who's fighting and what's going on, they have a lot of names that people don't want to talk about that are getting their shot. They're constantly moving up, moving up, moving up. Y'all should, think about that, bro. It's on point, shawty. What happened to Amanda? I thought she was winning. Amanda Nunez, when it comes down to the scorecards, it's two ways you leave them out of the equation, that D-Ray. In mixed martial arts, it's either submission or knockout. Shit don't go to the scorecards. And Julia Pena subbed her out in 2 rounds. That's what happened with that. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Julia Pena, who herself went through adversity with a damn injury, having a baby. I'm just saying, I'm not comparing the adversity to the baby. I'm just saying she was out of the sport, fought the tough opposition, and finally got her biggest shot with the champ, the first woman to become champ. Amanda Nunez. She beats Amanda Nunez, the one that they was talking about, who was the GOAT. See, this is one thing that does link up when it comes to combat sports. You can have a title, and as long as you hold the reign, it's according to what you do while you're reigning. People will respect you when you finally get that loss, and they're gonna respect Amanda Nunez. She's still the 145-pound champion. And they're gonna respect her because they know who she's fought, and they got mad respect. They're not gonna just throw her out to the damn recycle bin, to the trash compactor, and say, "Oh, you done? You washed up? You ain't shit. You're a bum now." Like boxing. Boxing is quick to freaking label a fighter. You didn't defend your title at all. Your first defense, you was up out of there. You weren't shit to begin with. If you win a title over mixed martial arts and you lose it, it's all about how long, if you plan on getting back in there, what they're going to present. They're going to say, hey, do you want to fight so-and-so? You can get back into a title contention. I give you 2 more opponents, 2 or 3 more opponents, you back in there. All right, cool. And those 2 or 3 opponents are not going to be over a 2 to 3 year span. These mixed martial artists is fighting at a quick turnaround, shawty. I mean, give them their respect. Real talk. So we have a as much as I don't want to take, I have to talk about it because it's my boy, Woodley, and I have respect for Tyrone Woodley, what he was able to do. So therefore, Tyrone Woodley, one of the best. He's a future Hall of Famer out of the welterweight division of the UFC. He was able to defend his title 4 times. You know what I'm saying? He knocked out Robbie Lawler to win it, and then he fought Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Tough opposition now. Dana White put Stephen Wonderboy Thompson in there twice, dog. Twice. Defended his title. Put him in there with a BJJ world champion, Damian Maia, aka the Backpack. Beat him. Then he goes in there and fight Darren Till, the much larger fighter. Subs him out. So now, outside of his UFC career, once again, we all know how the story played out when he was down here in Atlanta, and Jake Paul was fighting Tyrone Woodley's good friend, Ben Askren. He defeats Ben Askren via knockout, and we all saw what played out back there with J Love and his crew. He's talking about these boxing gloves, what you know about that and all this shit. And Tyrone was able to go in there and, go the distance with Jake Paul. So much to the point where fans were pretty much in tune to see what's going on. Okay, And so you're asking yourself, once again, how can Tyrone Woodley get a second fight with Jake Paul? Because he's popular enough from his UFC days, and it's enough respect out here in these streets to the fact where they decide, you know what? Let's run it back. Let's run this shit back for another paycheck. A lot of people are not really talking about it, but the flyer is Leave No Doubt. How are they able to pull this off? You know what I'm saying? We're seeing boxing, um, we're seeing boxing have this interaction with non-boxers. The non-boxers are somehow being provided a waiver by boxing fans to be considered a boxer. You're talking about YouTube personalities lacing up, getting in the gym, doing some work supposedly, and boxing fans are now accepting or inviting them into the boxing community to fight world-class combat sports practitioners. And this is what we're seeing right here with Tyron Woodley. I'm surprised he was able to get this fight again so close. You know, I'm about to post this flyer up. That's the flyer right there. Jake Paul, Tyron Woodley. Now, let's be honest with ourselves. If Tyron Woodley was to be in a street fight with Jake Paul, it wouldn't even be close. I don't give a fuck how much wrestling the Logan Paul and Jake Paul brothers have. Tyron Woodley will fuck them up. But it's the fact that I'm trying to make that Tyron Woodley gets another paycheck outside of the UFC. I don't see boxers in general being able to get this opportunity just yet, because you have to be a real huge top tier legend to pull off what Mike Tyson and Roy Jones did. Outside of that, what are we seeing exactly? You know what I'm saying? How does Tyron Woodley get another shot at a YouTuber and people are going to tune in and see this shit? They're fighting December 18th, y'all. You know how many days that is away? December 18th, shawty. Believe that. They're fighting December 18th, Tampa, Florida. Another good paycheck for Tyron Woodley and Jake Paul. But the wild part about it is that Jake Paul continued to get in these big names. That's combat sports. Now, whatever they have in the contract talking about no knockout clause, don't knock them out. Hey, whatever. People gonna still see it, because once again, that is the part of boxing that people want to ignore on how they can be shisty a bit and fool the fans. Just like, you know, Floyd Mayweather and Logan Paul. There was a no knockout clause in there. Floyd could have went in there and stopped Logan Paul. Floyd could have went in there and beat Logan Paul ass, dog. But there's a no knockout clause because they're making money. That's what separates boxing from mixed martial arts. The UFC or Bellator won't have anything going on like this. Like, the only time I can even reflect upon some old shit is when James Toney came in there and fought a former world champion in Randy Couture. He built that shit up. Boom. It happened. He took James Toney down, being safe, and he played around with him, and the ref said, hey, I'm going to stop the fight. This is going too far. This, that, and the other. It's over. There's no way James Toney's going to be able to get up. Boom. Out. They still kept it classy, though. But that's something they don't do all the time. Like when Dana White created the BMF belt, the bad motherfucker belt. He rarely does some shit like that. Should boxing fans, hardcore boxing fans, be concerned? Absolutely. Absolutely. You should be concerned just with what you should be paying attention for. And that is, check out the whole ebb and flow, and the entire ebb and flow of the dialogues that's out here on YouTube when it comes to boxing. They're just conversational based dialogues. We speak more on what we want to talk into existence rather than shit that actually is going to materialize and come into fruition. We talk more of theories and shit, hypotheticals, and all this other shit that goes along, scenario-based narratives when it comes to boxing, because they always want to keep a secret. Oh, I can't speak on it right now. I can't speak on it. I can't speak on it. I don't never hear that language with mixed martial arts. It's pretty much, oh, we have this fight going on, that fight, this fight, that fight. It's no damn ghost stage play that we sit down and we become hypnotized by all the damn tricks and smoke and mirrors and all that shit. That's boxing. All the smoke and mirrors you can handle. It's just like being in a hookah lounge. You sit down, that motherfucker, smoke everywhere. And people don't find it to be deleterious because they're used to it. They're conditioned to be in suspense when it comes to boxing topics on who's fighting who. Boxing fans are conditioned for that shit. Mixed martial arts, you pretty much know what the fights you're going to get and when they're coming and when they're going to be on the schedule. They put it out. It's there. Boxing, you might not see a person on the damn box rec until 3 days before the fight. Why? Why is boxing still at a point where they just can't have confirmed information? Why can't the best match up and compete against each other? Why is it always red tape politics? Why is the why? The opening, it'll always be the why is the why, God damn it. If you asking the why, that is why you're not getting it. Why is this sanctioning body doing it? Why is this promotion doing it? Why will answer why. It's almost like verbal algebra, verbal geometry. Seriously, it gets very, very technical when you ask the why plus y equals y. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you're dysfunctional in trying to figure out how boxing operates. It's absolutely a maze. It's mind-boggling, y'all. Like, why can't we just go into 2022 understanding what we have in store? Why can't some of these big name fights we know for sure that's gonna happen? Now, say what you want about Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, but that pretty much allowed us to get what we thought was gonna happen. You know, we knew we was gonna get the rematch, and we knew we was getting a trilogy, regardless of the fake news that was being placed out there. We got it. I mean, we rarely even get the trilogies these days, but when it comes down to the best fighting the best, let's just say, for instance, Canelo. Canelo was able to go up there and unify the 168-pound division. Why does it take a moment of suspense for anybody else to try to clean out the division? Because this is what separates mixed martial arts again. If you're the champion, they will give you the opportunity to do what you got to do. Fight the best in there. But they have one belt. Boxing has plenty. So that's where the politics comes in. Not every boxer that's contending or a champion that's in a division is under the same promotional banner. So now comes the politics. Not everybody's able to do what Canelo was doing at 168 pounds. I don't care if people say he didn't fight nobody and it was this. Still, those was legitimate champions at 168 pounds. And guess what? He cleaned out the division outside of the WBC title. It would have been great if David Benavidez was still the title holder, and I could absolutely say he cleaned out everything. But he is the undisputed super middleweight champion. Why can't that go through all the divisions? How can the talk of Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford ongoing before Canelo even decided or thought about clearing out the 168-pound division? How can this talk of Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence exist prior to and still exist thereafter, y'all? How can this shit be that way? How can we still be talking about Crawford Spence prior to and thereafter, and Canelo's already became undisputed at 68? Why? How in the hell can one division that's fighting in the same sport, how can it be so difficult? How plus how plus how? Why plus why plus why? That will always leave you dumbfounded a bit. Like, why can't we bring up other divisions? Why can't we have fights? How can we just, why can't we just pick common sense sometime of what the next fight should be, just like in the lightweight division? Common sense wise, the next fight should be what it is. Haney Kambosos. Moving on. How can Jorge Rivera, not Rivera, Jorge Ramirez fight Josh Taylor? Both of them have 2 titles each, and they get it in and get that undisputed over with. Why can't boxing consistently put these fighters without saying, oh, now Josh Taylor have to fight a mandatory? He's fighting Calderon. Why can't he just fight another top tier opponent? What the fuck is Regis doing down there? There's top tier opponents down there. Why we always got to get, well, it's good we don't have this mandatory shit in mixed martial arts, man. Like, yeah, you're the reigning, defending, undisputed title holder, but you got to fight your mandatory. No, it's whoever they put up in there out of the top ranking system. The next person to fight you is a top ranked opponent. We're finally getting 154 pound back. They're probably settle that score. That just goes to show you, if they want undisputed to happen, it depends on who's pushing for it to actually take place. We can want it to happen all day long out here, but it's all about individuals who allow it to take place. That becomes the bigger issue when it comes to boxing, the politics. I don't understand the Manuel Navarrete moving up and getting a title shot like that when you have a bona fide champion there. You know what I'm saying? Like, people might, say it's contradictory for me to say that when it's talking about mixed martial arts. I'm talking about they have 1 title, dog. They have 1 title. 1 title. So they want somebody to come from another organization to have 1 fight and then step into a title fight. That's cool. But rarely do you get a mixed martial artist coming over there and their first fight is a championship fight. Rarely do you get that shit. You coming from a neighboring organization and you get a title fight right off the rip. I don't know how Manuel Navarrete, who just picked up a belt, gets a shot at Oscar Valdez, though, and not a champion that's already existing in the division that's calling for the smoke. See, that's the inconsistency. That's just disappointment in boxing, bro. We should keep the momentum going. We build upon the flame. Keep on adding and adding to that flame so that division can be hot, burning. People see it from miles away and they talking about it. They don't have to be on YouTube just to talk about it. Them motherfuckers talk about this shit in sidebar conversations. You know what I'm saying? Damn, you see what's going on at 130? Oh, shit. Just can't wait for that fight. This is going to be a good fight right here. And then you can take what Oscar Valdez was able to do, and then you can take what Shakur Stevenson. Boom. We got to fight, unify. Who's next? Who's next? The WBA or the IBF? Who's next? Yeah, man. We got a ways to go, bro. No KO clause? Absolutely no KO clause. No KO clause, man. I know you can't believe it, huh? Yeah. They trying to keep that money. No KO clause. No KO clause. Exhibition bouts. No KOs. They want to keep the exhibition bouts going. Exhibition bout, believe it or not, is somewhat on a lower tier as professional wrestling when it comes to the predetermined measures that a fighter understands heading into that fight. Predetermined in this instance, it doesn't mean they're not hitting their opponents like it is in World Wrestling Entertainment. It's more so them totally understanding to do enough to move around as if it's sparring to entertain the crowd. But it's no knockout clause. You're not really sitting down on punches. You're not really going 150% balls to the walls to try to get your opponent up out of there. It's always something, ain't it? You know what I'm saying? It's always something, bro. You know, it's always something. But I would encourage y'all to follow the sport. It's a lot that's going on in the sport. We have a lot of fighters that's due to step into the cage coming up in mixed martial arts. And the only way that you're gonna really familiarize yourself with the key players in mixed martial arts, the key promotions, UFC and Bellator, is just read the news articles, tune into the fights when they do it. You know what I'm saying? The tournament based style is takes us back to the relic days of when mixed martial arts decided to venture onto the scene. The early 90s when it was no time limit, no equipment, no weight classes. You know what I'm saying? To UFC 12 when they implemented, they was on the brink of UFC 12, and John McCain called it cockfighting, and the UFC received all this backlash and shit, and pretty much like 30 some states outlawed and banned mixed martial arts. They fought through this shit. Further, UFC 14, they start to implement gloves. You know what I'm saying? They start to disallow certain strikes like fish hooking, groin strikes, and all this other shit. And they really start to settle in to organize themselves. You have the equipment, you have the gloves. Let's develop divisions. You know what I'm saying? And let's put a time limit on these rounds. Let's go. But the tournament-based style setting back then was a lot more barbaric than the tournament styles now. Back then, it was a single elimination. Most of the time, it's single elimination here because the belt system in mixed martial arts, you have one belt unless they decide to give you an interim title. It's one belt. So with this, it's a single elimination also, but yet you get to see the best fighting the best. Why don't boxing present the tournament-based style anymore? Why can't we have a Super 6? Why can't we have the World Boxing Super Series on a regularity? Why can't we? Why can't we switch up the weight classes and present the fight fans with some refreshments? You know what I'm saying? It'd be good to see a tournament-based style in boxing. Mixed martial arts is still doing it. They still doing it. PFL, they're giving tournament based fight cards with $1 million prize, man. $1 million prize, bro. Shit. That's crazy, man. Jeez. UFC 2 was supposed to be held in Providence, Rhode Island, but the Senate had a special session and banned it. I remember it. Absolutely, Bruce. Senator John McCain, if there's anything he did that's memorable in politics, and shout out to John McCain, he was a POW. You know what I'm saying? Though he was grumpy in a lot of ways, for him to consider, as long as he was in existence as a human being, he should know there was more things that was worse, and that being that he was captured. So, you got to think the PTSD that John McCain had, that might have basically bled over into his decision and how his rants came about when he basically was delegating that focus to the UFC. You know what I'm saying? That might have played a huge role. People don't understand. That man was tortured and captured. When he was captured, he was tortured. For him to have that big of an influence, more so, they looked at him as a military vet, POW survivor. You know what I'm saying? They took it for what it was. They gave him the option. They gave him that little small window of respect. It's like, oh, if he think it's cockfighting, okay, cool. So all these states want to sit up here and concur, all in favor, and it made it harder for the UFC. But with that said, with adversity, you do what? Sometimes it forces you to improve a position that will benefit you later on. And that's what happened with the UFC. It forced them into a position to furthermore clean up the sport, implement equipment such as gloves, implement time limits per round, disapprove of certain strikes that are considered cockfighting, soccer kicks to the head, fish hooking, groin strikes. You know what I'm saying? Clean up the sport. That's when it becomes a point where your audience start taking it serious. And plus, a lot of these cards they was throwing back then was on PPV. Good point there, Bruce. Good point, big dog. Good point. Good point. Good point. UFC has grown so fast because they cater to the fans, unlike boxing. Yeah, they hold promotion, man. And shout out to Free Hoover on deck, man. How you feeling? Shout out to MMA for really providing exposure for their fighters. They give you the opportunity. What's good, Ghost? Hoover say marinating fights in boxing is horrible. Absolutely, I totally agree. It's absolutely so sour. It's not for me to get on here and excoriate boxing, just criticize the shit out of it. But it's a lot to criticize about the sport I support, that I like covering. It is. It's a lot to criticize, but like I said before, it's like being in an abusive relationship. Some people know they're getting their ass whooped and know that the abuse is coming. They can feel it, they sense it, and then when it actually happens, they take it, they deal with it, and they recover. That's like boxing fans. Real talk. They say, they say all the time. I hear somebody say, "Oh, he's a mixed martial arts guy." You full of shit too. Because just because you cover one sport, what are we teaching ourselves in life? We teach ourselves in life to be a multitasker, to be a polymath of many, to learn more than one thing. And if you're learning one thing, learn how to do it more than one ways, right? That's what we always, try to raise our kid up. Never do something one way. There's a variety of ways to know how to do this, okay? You don't have to just know one language in life. You can learn more than one. You know what I'm saying? But this marinating of the fights, oh man, it's like a virus, dog. Marinating fights plus the lack of year-round testing made a difference for the UFC. Yeah, thanks to USADA, they implemented drug testing. And the way the promotion is done all makes the UFC a better product. I think so. You know what I'm saying? I like how the UFC promote. I like how they're doing their awards now. I just like how they're recognizing their fighters. They're providing their fighters with the opportunity to step back in the cage and fight for a championship. John tried to set up a federal boxing commission with pensions and health insurance. When he died, it died sadly. Yeah, man, Bruce. Hey, Bruce talking some gems right here, Bruce. I appreciate that. That wasn't gonna flow off my tongue. I wasn't even thinking about it. But Speaking of health insurance and pensions is a very, very important subject that has since been placed in a cemetery. Could the senator have changed the game like he did when he put the news out on the UFC being like cockfighting? Is it possible that that we could have seen boxing receive a stipend or a pension once they're out of the sport? It would have changed the game, y'all. Fighters would have came here and said, you know what? Hey, I'm feeling a little bit better about this shit, dog. Why? Did you hear they passing the pensions and shit? You get a pension when you get out. And there's so much that goes along with this there, Bruce, when it comes to the insurance. The insurance aspect of it is that when you look at just regular life insurance, what do? They want you to get examinations, some of them, and they want to see what type of health you in. What would have been the cost for fighters to sustain insurance, being that they're in a physical contact sport, which can cause injuries? And with that physical contact sport, if they receive an injury that is life-threatening or prohibit them from moving forward in their professional career, which they are insured, will insurance companies be willing to pay out the damages, being that they knew damn well that this person was fighting in a full contact sport? They was competing in full contact boxing. So therefore, sooner or later, the possibility from the fighters being hurt, injured, maimed is very high. So now you come to the insurance company having integrity, and will they pay out to these fighters? That's where the problem comes in, being in a full contact sport, because you're doing this on a regular basis that may indeed infect the liability for insurance companies. It's a huge liability for them to insure a fighter. That's point blank, period. They know sooner or later the fighter's going to file a claim. I'm seeing stars. I'm blacking out. I have short-term memory. Knowing damn well they insured them while they was a fighter. Now it comes time to come up with a sum of money to pay out. The insurance company is going to look at it like, this is too much of a liability for us to support fighters in general. It's unfortunate. But how would we come to the surface to derive a way that fighters can get a payment stipend? Where would the money come from? The money would have to come from the same way that we pay Social Security, the same way that we pay taxes in a sort. Fighters would have to pay into something in order for them to receive retirement stipend. It just can't come from an empty organization established for that reason of retirement. The fighters are going to have to pay into it. Just like you pay into insurance, you will have to probably pay throughout your boxing career. And then they will, how long you stayed in there, they will have to come up with a formula. They will have to come up with a formula on how much you're going to get paid for the rest of your life. And then not only that, is it possible for you to get medical care without your copay being through the fucking roof? Boxing is a tough sport in the ring, but it is on a whole nother level. What's the word I'm looking for? On the outside, it takes you to a whole nother depth of darkness. That's the toughest part about boxing, man. When you hear these boxers having domestic violence issues and all that shit, that's where care comes into. That's where having aftercare comes into. It'd be good if these boxers can have some aftercare, if people actually gave a fuck. But it's not like that. A boxer is only relevant when they're young enough to compete, or in certain cases, like B Hop, George Foreman, and some other people, been able to fight later on in their lives and still maintain their their cognizant thought process and carry on a decent fucking conversation with people without losing their thought process and their memory and stuttering and having somebody have to finish their sentences for them. That all plays a huge role. Anyway, not to go off on a tangent about that, but Bruce brought up a damn good point about pension and health insurance. Unfortunately, they don't care enough in boxing to even give a fuck about it. So the boxers have to make enough money. That's why I don't pocket watch, because I truly understand, like, they don't have a retirement like I do out of the military. I'm thankful and very appreciative to make it out of there because of what I endured while I was in there. You know what I'm saying? Surviving, couple of explosions. I could have very well been an amputee. That's real talk. I never knew what a rocket sound like. For real, I never knew what a rocket sound like. All I heard all the time was motherfucking warning horns going off, the sirens going off. Say, okay, you get so down. Look, you get so complacent. Okay, this damn shit going off again. Okay. Then all of a sudden you hear some commotion outside. Incoming. Boom. And you get to feel the full shock value. Man, come on, bro. You wonder why boxers be fucked up when they out, man? Because for one, they think nobody gives a fuck about what they did in the ring after the case. Their head is fucked up with CTE and everything else that goes along with early signs of pugilistic dementia and all that other stuff that goes along, medical degradation. And then 3, they have to make decisions. Those decisions are not like mine. I can go to any type of medical facility and get help and don't have to worry about copays. I can have a surgery and get help and don't have to worry about copays. Boxers, they have to worry about copays. They have to worry about not even having health insurance. And they can't go back, like, let's say, for instance, the UFC will pay for any damage that a fighter that's occurred in the ring. I'm pretty sure boxing is that way too. If you occur some damage, they're going to pay for that right there. But what about the after effect of when fighters get injured and years go by? Now we have the phase 2, 3, and 4 of that injury. How are we to look after these fighters? And that's the dark side. That is the motherfucking tales of the dark side when it comes to boxing and combat sports in general, man. Also, this 4-belt system, 1 champion, 100 different champions. All of these things more are destroying the sport. Talk your shit, Stilo, for real. It's crazy. 100 different champions. It's crazy, man. And look, I understand some of these fighters love grabbing hold of these regional trinkets, these secondary belts. I get it, bro, because they going in there and they fighting for these motherfuckers. They fighting for it. But it does convolute the sport, man. Floyd Mayweather took it upon himself when he's supposed to have been highlighting Gervonta to go on a rant about it. Has anything changed since Floyd Mayweather's rant? Nope. Nothing's changed. The boxing section in the building. What's good with you? He said, World Combat Sports, salute, my brother. Salute to you. The boxing section on deck. Ella B on record saying, we don't give a shit about fans. Shaking my head. Reason why Tank vs. Cruz did less than 80K. I want you to understand something, Hoover. I want you to understand something, Hoover. And everybody else that's listening. Y'all may pay attention to these numbers, but you all cannot influence what happens next because of those numbers are deficient from you. You know what I'm saying? From what you perceive them on what they supposed to be. you're not going to change anything about the numbers. Why? Because we really have no effect on them. The only effect that we have as boxing fans about those numbers is to go see the fight or to pay for the PPV, right? From here on out, don't put emphasis on these PPV numbers. It's all for good banter, sidebar conversations, grip and grin photos, barbershop conversations. That's all it's good for when it comes to the numbers, y'all. Because truly, on the outside looking in, we don't understand or we don't know or we're not privy to what the numbers are truly are, dog. They can put some numbers out on the fighter and they'd be absolutely incorrect. How can you say Bud did this to this? From 90K to 135K to 105K to 140K. How can there be a range? This is a perfect example of what Hoover mentioned, that numbers don't mean shit. You know why they don't mean shit? Because Gervonta is going to fight the next fighter on PPV again. That's why the numbers don't mean shit when making an undisputed title fight. It's all because of the pundits that want to stay close to having some type of criteria to speak on that fight. They want to make it about numbers because it seems smart. It seems like they are intelligently involved. Their interaction deals with specifics. They want to act like unemployed CFOs. You know what I'm saying? They want to sit up here and fudge the numbers and work the numbers a little bit like we on Wall Street. It don't fucking matter to us, y'all. What we should be concerned about is getting the fights approved. Can this fight happen? Us talking about PPVs, man, we truly don't know. We're not sitting up here looking at the books. All we doing is pushing opinionated narratives about something we're not privy to. They're not calling us to the table for any advice. So the crazy thing about what Hoover said about Ellaby is point blank fact. Ellaby is telling you he don't give a fuck about you. Why you give a fuck about Tank Davis's pockets? Who gives a fuck about PPV numbers? Everybody was talking about that Isaac Cruz and Gervonta Davis fight with those numbers. It didn't waver the attention. People were still up here talking about it. It was 80K. People still talking about the fight. And you know what? Now that Gervonta said he's standing 135, they're going to show that man some more love. Oh, shit. Who's Gervonta fighting next? Whoever it is, it's going to be on PPV. You know what they're going to say? Oh, okay. They're not going to say, oh, man, he don't deserve to be on PPV. No, it's what Floyd Mayweather has established now. He planted the seed, and the shit is fully blossomed. All you have to do is sit there and look at the beautification of the growth. You can't do shit about it. We can't do shit about it, y'all. Numbers don't mean shit to us. Just like Ellaby said to fans, they don't give a fuck about the fans. That's not going to stop Gervonta from coming back and being on PPV and people buying his fight. That's not going to do anything. Why? Because these people are not willing to protest anything. YouTube is just a stage, a platform, a media stage where people can draw and close their curtains when they fucking feel like it. That's it. You can be on stage, you can have a voice, you can grab the mic, talk to the audience, and then close the curtains when it's all over and go home. That's it. Don't take it too serious, but appreciate that point there, Hoover. Bruce said John McCain tried to form a committee on it, and no one else cared about boxers. I tried to stress they must be their own advocates. We have no unions or anything else. I need to post that comment. I need to post the one Hoover just made and post what you just put, Bruce. That's solid right there. That's solid shit right there. You know, I'm just thinking about I'm just trying to spin the reel back to see if John McCain's influence would have been strong enough for him to even sway this to happen. And then let's just say the possibility of it actually happening, and he's able to basically pass something into law. If he would have passed away, would it have absolved posthumous? You know what I'm saying? Would what he passed, could there be someone else that's in the same political arena that could have shut it down? Was there a long-term effect that could have happened if he would have been able to get this committee established and everything, or would have phased out after he was done, after he expired, passed away? That's my biggest question to that. Like him passing this, and let's just say it was thriving while he was still living. If he would have passed away, would they have kept and kept it for its longevity and the benefit of the boxers? For the mixed martial artists. I don't know. That's just a big ass question in hindsight, man. A big ass hot air balloon just floating up there for real. That's a what if, dog. Speaking of boxers being their own advocates, man. I put it like this, Bruce. Like your leadership skills is, that may be the cloth that you was cut from to be able to be in that position and what you did in life, right? Some of these guys this day and time really don't feel the need to lead from the front. That's why I try to explain to some cats, it's good to have people do for you. But if you are uninformed on what those individuals are doing in your absence that will affect you, then you're dumb as if you never attempted to do it in the first place. These fighters allow people to do and do and do for them. Instead of them being an advocate, like Bruce said, being an advocate, and being an advocate mean what? You have to absolutely have an inclination to what's going on with what you're speaking up about. You have to show your face. You have to show your face. You have to be a role player. You have to be informed. Sometimes being informed is not by word of mouth and somebody come relaying a message. Being informed is absolutely being at the table, listening, suggesting, revising until the formula fits what you want. Not just people telling you everything's cool. Oh, so I talked to them. What'd they say? Yeah, said this, that, and the other. We're gonna get on that. They're gonna give you a date. About a month from now, we're gonna come back and revisit this. All right. Who did you talk to? I just talked to one of the PR people, stuff like that. That ain't gonna work. You have to be in charge in a different way at this point in time. And I don't think it's a lot of fighters that's out there when they start to receive a little bit of monetary gain. They don't want to really put themselves in position to ask for more at the time. They want to basically appease. So that will cause them to just lay back in the shadows, really not take initiative, in which if you're going to advocate for yourself, your voice needs to be heard face to face. You have to take a stance. It might be rough in the beginning, but if you do it professionally, you use etiquette, and you do it with respect, it might be rough in the beginning because they just don't want to hear you. They treat you like everybody else that come and gone. They stepped up, they shut them down, they left. But you stayed around. You was consistent. They knew you was returning. They knew it was possible. But every time you return, you act like you was learning more and more. Hey, they respect you. Where's the actual numbers? Is 100K PPV even profitable? It depends on what the guarantee money is, man. I don't know, Hoover. We call that CTE. but it can't be found till you die. The actual numbers are never public, not ever once. And is it profitable? Do you know how much the PPV was in the live gate? So Stilo is saying something that I lay heavy on, especially on YouTube, right? I don't pocket watch fighters because we really don't know. We have no indication of the true raw numbers that have finally came in and registered. We don't know. So to answer this question, what the fighters get is what's in the contract, the guarantee money. And then the secondary option is whatever is done on the backside with the PP on the back end of the PPV numbers and all this other shit. The only good thing about these conversations when it comes to numbers, it's all based off speculation. So when you have a conversation based off speculation, it's all going to be a fury of opinions that's coming into this conversation, and then one opinion is going to differ from the next and to the next and to the next, and then it's going to turn to a full blown out debate, and it's all based off speculation. And no, you don't know what you're talking about. I read over here, but who told you? What document did you see? That's why I don't pocket watch fighters. I don't give a fuck about what they're making, because when they enter the ring, that number isn't on their shorts. 300 PPV, 300K PPV, 80K PPV. It's not on their shorts, people. When they're doing the ring announcement, the fighter's introduction, they're not mentioning numbers, bro. They're not. Why all these individuals speak like unemployed CFOs when they don't have documentation to present to their audience is beyond me. That is energy I can hold off on. I'll say, man, I'm not talking about no motherfucking numbers, trying to decide if Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford, who the A side, B side. It is absolutely buffoonery. It's crazy, dog. That shit should be banned from conversation. Y'all are not privy to the raw numbers of these PPVs, but yet you speak on them as if it's not based off just speculations that drives home opinions, and opinions is not based off fact. You know what I'm saying? So y'all drowned each other out in debating and arguing back and forth about numbers. It's insane, bro. Most boxers die broke. Yes, sir. You're right about that. Free Hoover, almost no one ever makes the exact actual PPV numbers public. There are estimates and guesses. So if you know that, why isn't there a larger scale of individuals on YouTube that understands the same thing you understand, that I understand? Why are they unwilling to accept that they have no clear understanding of what the numbers are? Why are the numbers a topic of discussion when it comes to A side, B side, when you don't have raw numbers? Oh, they selling out arenas. I remember when they used to say Anthony Joshua was selling out Wembley. You know, when the Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua deal was strong, you know what I'm saying? It was pungent. The back and forth that was going on with Joshua and Eddie Hearns, them trying to sit up there and lowball him with the flat fees and shit. And they was like, Anthony Joshua is selling out Wembley. I say, first of all, before he stepped in there with Vladimir Klitschko, wasn't the first one he was in there with. He didn't sell it out the first time he stepped in Wembley. Vladimir Klitschko assisted with the alley-oop by selling out Wembley. Outside of that, that's the only time Joshua sold out Wembley. Now, all the O2 Arena and all that other shit, man, come on, man. Is it entirely impossible when the PPV number, you know, the price for the PPV over there across the pond is the way it is? You guaranteed to sell out something, a Walmart parking lot, something. We don't know how many Groupons was goddamn given out too to go to that fight. But people say, they'll say these fighters are selling out arenas, but yet they don't come close to what some of the bigger PPV numbers like Holyfield, Tyson, Floyd Mayweather, the Pacquiao, Oscars, Conor McGregor. You know what I'm saying? They're not doing those type of PPV numbers. But now it's a topic of discussion for negotiation just so we can get fights on who's doing what numbers. And then they'll leave out where the fight is actually taking place. Most of the time it's in the fighter's backyard. So since the fighter is fighting in the fighter's backyard and people coming out to see him, they make it seem like it's valid for argument. It's valid to say, hey, he's doing high numbers. He sold out this stadium. It's fights that's been down here in the A at Mercedes-Benz Stadium where the entire stadium was not open. But look, you can go back to when I asked Leonard Ellaby one time on camera. I said, what's the capacity when it comes to the ticket sales? What's the capacity for this fight? He didn't answer me. Leonard Ellaby did not answer me, y'all. Because let's just say, for instance, we just throw the number out there. Let's say State Farms can see 30,000. But if a fight is held down here, no specific name, if a fight is held down here, and you set aside, you basically set 15 to 20,000. Let's just say 15 to 20,000. That is your seat capacity. That's what you're putting out there. When they come back and say that fight is sold out the arena, that's absolutely fake news and false advertisement. Because when I'm sitting in these arenas and I see all those empty seats, I say, oh, shit. I wish I could fly my drone around this motherfucker. And next time I go live, I say, they did what numbers now? Okay, let's go to the drone footage I was able to receive. Okay, check out the drone footage. Now, I want all of you together in the live chat just to tell me, one, if you see any empty seats in here. And place a 2 in the live chat if you don't. Because you absolutely align if you say you don't see empty seats in there. Like it could be a whole section carting off. And they'll say, hey, so-and-so sold out the arena. I'm like, what? This whole section over here, no one's sitting in it because it's not even available for fans. Just like the MSG. The MSG had a huge section, but you would never see that section on camera. They can come back and say, oh, they had numbers and all this. I'm sitting there. I was in one of the sections sitting over there taking pictures. I was there. I don't know about that. Nate Campbell spoke on it. Hey, it's going to be plenty of fighters that speak on it. But if they don't have the influence or some type of power of influence to gather enough voices to come together and speak on this in order for it to move forward, in order for somebody to take action, all it is talk. It goes into the queue with all the other banter that's been spoken about with insurance for these fighters, retirement pensions for these fighters, something so they just won't go out here and end up in the system. A fighter can go out here and be a champion and everything else, and when they retire, they hit rock bottom. They go out here and commit a crime. They back in the system if they came from that system, or they get put in the system and it's even worse. Because in prison, you're not going to get any help from being a previous boxer. Now you got to fight even more. Now you're not receiving a check. You fighting for your life because everybody's going to be trying to test you. One belt, one champ. It'll be good. But let me ask y'all this. Y'all think boxing will ever go down to one belt in one interim, something like that. A super title, just that single belt that's the designator for the primary reigning defending undisputed champion, and then every now and then bring in an interim title. Do you think boxing will absolutely eliminate all these second and third and fourth type B, C, and D titles that's out there? Hold on for a quick minute. All right. He said Cotto was asked to pay $250K for a belt in a Canelo fight. Make that make sense. The whole belt system in boxing is severely damaged and needs to be fixed. One belt, one champ. I get it. That's very clear. Very clear. It's all about the individuals that's involved in making it even clearer. You know what I'm saying? Can they clean it up? That's the whole deal. When you have no president, there's no head, no commander that's able to have the final decision through a governing body. You know what I'm saying? We know, let's say for instance, WBC have a governing body. But what about boxing having a governing body? To hold these commissioners accountable. What about them holding these judges accountable? Holding these promoters accountable? We need a governing body. But yet, let's just say you have a commander in chief in boxing, and boxing has been the way it is for so freaking long, right? Is it possible for boxing to retain a governing body without corruption, without them being paid off, just like the Olympic Committee and all the fighters that they done screwed over? Is it possible for the sport, with all it's been through and what it's been able to grow, all the damn underworld of betting and premeditated malice? We're talking about fighters going in there getting robbed and all this shit. Is it humanly possible for a committee to be approved and maintain their integrity without being paid off themselves? Because at the end of the day, it can result in the same way that boxing's been ongoing for quite some time. You can create a committee. It could have a president, but yet that president and that committee could face the same freaking corruption that we're seeing right now without a committee. People want to pay them off, this, that, and the other. I mean, how would it work? How can we make the shit work? This is like a never-ending, winding type of shit. Like, how can we make the shit work with the sanctioning bodies and all this other bullshit with the promotions? Because you look at the UFC and Bellator, the promotion has the president already. It's not multiple sanctioning bodies in there, so it's much more cleaner. You know what I'm saying? They can police the area a lot more efficient with minimal belts, minimal sanctioning bodies. You know what I'm saying? We will have to we would have to, if we want to clean that shit up in boxing, we have to do away with all these sanctioning bodies. We just have to come up with how you put it, a sanctioned body of one. And that sanctioned body of one will be in every weight class. That's the only way to clean it up. Come up with a sanctioned body of one. Come up with a president, a governing body, and that's how we'll clean up boxing. Now, still, will it play more of a significant factor for people to try to, pay off? I think if you downsize these motherfucking sanctioning bodies and you put restrictions on all these promotions, people would just go out of business. I think boxing will go out of business because I don't know, man. The president is not a promotion. So you will have to have a promotion that's a part of what the president is approving. That's the winding turbulence that you're gonna experience with boxing. Like with the UFC, you had the Zuffa brothers, you know what I'm saying? You had Dana White, you had Sean Shelby, you had all those people. Even because the promotion was bought doesn't mean they didn't keep prominent players in place. So the UFC is a promotion and Dana White is the president. Who would be the single promotion over boxing? And can they create a whole new promotion, limit the sanctioning bodies, have a president and the governing bodies, and still put on boxing matches and still have enough faces in there, decision makers, to make this sport flourish? That's the bigger question. Like, can the sport flourish with a reduction in sanctioning bodies, a single top tier promotion over the entire sport of boxing with the president and governing body? And then maybe if that was the case, these fighters may indeed be able to receive a retirement stipend, because you have a much more organized, regulated sport, man. I don't know. I'm just trying to come up with some ideas, man. And just what Ghost is saying, the fact that a champion has to pay a percent of his purse to represent these organizations which don't even support the fighters makes zero sense. See, you could take that money and have more money put into the sport for a single promotion, however they choose to do it. Yeah, man, it's crazy. That's why I really don't get into like the cracks and crevices of those numbers, because there's so many people that's a part of boxing that's taken for these fighters. Sanctioning fees. Fuck. Managers got to be paid. Trainers, teams, all this shit got to be paid. Uncle Sam got to get paid. Woo-wee. That shit's crazy, dog. There's also a clear issue with race in boxing. In MMA, it don't matter if black, white, or Mexican. If you fail the drug test, you fail the drug test. In boxing, that's not the case. Yeah, man, we know it's not the case. We know if black fighters, in my opinion, was popping positive, man, we'll be treated just like Jarrell Miller. Now, Jarrell Miller is an extreme case, right? And he has admitted to that. But I'm just saying, in general, from what we've seen with some of the Mexican fighters, Latino fighters, or what have you, testing positive, and the waiver that was presented, the waiver of acceptance to say, hey, I'm going to help out that person. I'm going to assist in this. I'm going to assist with elevating the levels. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to accommodate. I'm going to elevate the levels, still allow this fighter to fight and make his purse, and y'all just have to deal with it. That's corruption at its best right there, front and center. That's corruption at its best, man. You pop positive, they still accommodate you. They're showing the boxing audience, once again, you're in an abusive relationship. I'm going to fuck you up whenever I feel like it. Boxing audience, they get used to being fucked up so much that it doesn't even hurt the way it did in the beginning. It's just you sit there with your elbows on top of your knees and you have your your face buried into the palms of your hands, shaking your head like, oh shit, fuck this. It's going to keep on happening, people. Real talk, that shit going to continue to happen. They making excuses for these fighters who popping dirty. But I tell you what, if Deontay Wilder would have ever popped dirty in the Fury fight, man, they would have been out there motherfucking armed. You're trying to kill Fury. Oh my God. He must die. Man, come on now. It's absolutely a race in boxing. Race is more orientated in boxing than MMA, in my opinion, because you have black champions, white champions, Mexican champions. People get their shot. If you high up in the ranks, it ain't no, I'll pass him over to get this person. No, especially in the UFC, Bellator, man, you get your shot. It don't matter where your skin color look. You get your motherfucking shot over there. Fans cheer you on. John Jones, all the shit he's done when he walked back to the cage, people cheer him on. Like, damn, there go John Jones, dog. Cowboy Cerrone has double-digit losses. Oh, you a legend. You a legend. You're a legend, my boy. It's good to see you back in. They love him. John was a boxing fan. He tried to help straighten the crookedness in boxing by trying to get something up federally. Noon in the Senate no one in the Senate took him serious, and when he died, the bill died. That's very, very sad and unfortunate. For real. Very sad. A lot of people didn't take John McCain seriously, especially when he ran for president. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Senator McCain, man. Shout out to him. Rest in peace. Senator McCain was a POW along with his political interests too. It just goes to show you, like, you can have all that behind you and go through all that adversity, but yet it means very little out here in the civilian pop. At World Combat Sports, to be honest, bro, no idea. A lot of folks with sources and expertise nowadays. I wonder the same thing about the number discussions. Look, it's all about how somebody can deliver you the information that you're looking for. That's all it is. It's all about who is delivering the information, bro. Real talk. It's all about who's delivering the information and how they sound and how smoothly they're able to do it. That's what the YTC is about, delivery. If you can convince those, look, people that tune in to certain channels that really talk about things, they talk basically opinions into a factual existence, which turns out to be just a blanket of infatuation, a fascination. It's just a blanket of fascination. You're being fascinated about something that's not true, but just because the person is telling a story, they're very interested. Oh shit, do tell. Continue. Please bring me a glass of warm milk, please. This is very interesting. I just want to relax. Them motherfuckers be there listening to someone talk about numbers, and in the live chat, you might find somebody say, well, do you have documentation? Hey, block his ass. Fuck that. Block him. Fuck all that shit. Block him. No, motherfucker, I don't have no numbers. I'm telling you what I know. But how can you know without documentation, though? You know what I'm saying? The only numbers that we can know is a fighter's win-loss record. You know what I'm saying? When was the fight stop? How long they've been boxing, because it's all documented. We have documentation. But as far as these numbers that these fighters are doing, we don't have clear, concise documentation, dog. People forget that fact that boosting numbers make something seem more in demand than it is, a way of promotion. True words, man. It's called exacerbation. You know what I'm saying, Ghost? It's called exacerbation. bloviating. That's what that is. The sale of MLB has NBA and NFL jerseys contribute to those athletes' big dollar deals and pensions. See, the weird part about boxers too. How often do you see boxers with a brand that's in your local malls? You're talking about a person who take punches to the head, right? Do you ever see these brands? I'm talking about multiple. You know how many boxers in the sport? This is an annual sport. How many combat sport practitioners do you see with their brand? A certain brand that they can call their own. They stay in the sport 15, 20 years. What is their brand? Is your brand in Foot Locker? Is your brand in there like Nike, Puma, Adidas? Where's your brand? Why aren't these fighters able to create their own residual income from their own brand? Why they're still boxing? Why are all these fighters being locked down and not able to present or start up their own brand and reap 100% of the benefits, dog? Listen, you're my manager, you're my team. You get paid off what I make in the ring. What I'm doing outside this motherfucker, this is my brand, dog. But you know that you're signed to a promotional deal with us, okay? So you're signed to a promotional deal, and with that promotional deal, your brand is part of the promotion. So whatever you make off your brand, we get a percentage of that too. That's how that works. You understand? So understand you have high hope, big dreams. I get it. Kudos to you. But you're signed with us. So therefore, any monetary gain that you make residually off your brand outside of the ring, we get a percentage of that too. That shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that way. And then, you know, how with all the fighters that's out there, how are you going to start your brand? Like, look at all the hip hop artists that's out here. But you see the hip hop artists, they got brands in the stores. Are they signed to a label? Like, you have all these hip hop artists, they have brands, clothing brands in the stores. But boxers, where are you? Why aren't there more boxers and mixed martial artists on commercials? Why? I mean, obviously they can talk. They have press conferences, right? I don't know. Y'all get the point, man. I don't know why the fuck that is the way it is, dog. Too much money involved for them to take away all the belts. You got to remember, there's a fee you got to pay if you hold the belts. Doesn't matter if you got a continental belt or a world belt. Absolutely, bro. Talk to them. You got to come out the pocket, bro. So you look at it like this. You hear certain conversations saying belts. You know, I don't give a fuck. You heard Javante say, I don't give a fuck about the belts. And I thought about this a long time ago, you know, when it comes to certain fights that don't give a fuck about the belt. For a long time, people look at a championship and they say, oh man, get more championships. Without knowing what Stilo is talking about, that they have to pay a sanctioning fee. They have to pay a stipend. They are being charged to be that champion. You get someone like Javante who's doing PPV, but he has very minimal belts. Is he dumb or is he smart? Because he's able to make money without having a collective group of belts on his waist at the time. But he's making money on PPV level. So his thing is, Floyd probably look at it like, no, we ain't going to go for all these belts like that. We're going to make our money. So we have to pay these motherfuckers our money that you earning. When it comes time for you to collect the belt, it's going to be worth it. It's going to be worth every minute. You're going to make money in a championship fight. You're going to make money on PPV. Everything is going to be charged over to Javante Tank Davis and Mayweather Promotion. We're going to break the bank. We're not going to allow the sanctioned bodies to break us. So if he is able to what? Unify, supposedly, I think they're going to do it with all the belts in a single location. Let's just say Cambosis or whoever gets it out to Cambosis. They might just say, okay, let's fight for these belts. Boom. He goes over there and win the belts. He may get off them motherfuckers quick. He said, I don't want them no more. Y'all can have them. It goes down in my record. My register will say I was this champion at lightweight, held this many belts. I don't have to keep them forever. The PBC belt, that was solution, it seems, for a while. One belt, one champion per one weight, a clear ranking system. My answer to your question would be yes, because one promotion equal best versus best. There are no politics, no ways out, and that's all the fans want. Yeah, man, we just have to find a way for the president there, Stilo. We have to find a way for a president, governing body, and a single promotional at the top of the chain of command that basically is in charge of the governing body and also encompassing the president and the decision that the president make. You know what I'm saying? They will all have to work as a union. They will all have to work as a union for this to make any sense. You cannot have a top tier promotion, single spearhead, a promotion at the top, president, governing body, and then still have all these damn promotions down here. That's chaos. That is fucking mayhem trying to figure out what's all going on. That is fucking mayhem, dog. They will have to narrow that shit down to one face, one name, and take it from there. One face, one name, and take it from there. Narrow it down to one sanctioning body. Not even, look, it doesn't even have to be a sanctioning body that's in existence right now, because Lord knows we don't want the WBC to be that primary sanctioning body. We have to collectively create one sanctioning body for all these fighters to have a belt underneath. Do away with all the sanctioning bodies, and they have to blend themselves in boxing some other way. They create pension systems using those sanctioning fees. That can't be done. Why do fighters have to pay Mauricio Manchin? That's just the grimy aspect of the sport, man. Facts, put your logo on the shorts too, not just theirs. Make your own brand bigger. You can start a clothing line, shoes, drop fragrance, make restaurants and more. It can be done. It can be done because I've seen what I'm talking about more so is you see fighters with clothing lines, but you don't see it in mainstream market. Economically, you don't see it out here in the stores. Like if I walk into any Champs, Foot Locker, and shit like that, I don't see these fighters' brand. I don't see their face up there. I don't see them. Like I'm liable to walk into one of these stores and see NBA YoungBoys clothing line, Pharrell clothing line, T.I. All these hip hop artists got their shit everywhere in these clothing stores, but boxers, I don't know, man. Yeah, it's easier to sell fragrances, and I don't know about the shoes. The shoe market's a little bit wicked though. Yeah, I know a lot of boxers try to sell their shoe brand, their boxing shoe, but I don't know, man. It's tough. That's why Floyd was never undisputed at any weight. Floyd didn't pay those fees for long after he learned what was ongoing. Money May era is the blueprint to follow. It is. This is all about people looking at it, like you said, Stilo, looking at how smart Floyd Mayweather was and not participating and giving out that payout and not being a part of that payout, or his credentials. Because you were here in one chorus, they're singing that credentials don't matter, but yet Canelo up here, credentials matter, everything matter. And then you got fighters up here with just 2 belts, and they acting like that's the world, the free world over. They act like that shit is just the damn the becoming of a new lord. You got to pay sanctioning fees. So which one matter? Which one matter? Not picking up, you respect the fighter that's not picking up all the belts because of paying sanction fees, or you respect the one who chooses to pick up as many titles that they can. Which one is a smarter fighter? Now we bring in a third layer of people saying, oh, so-and-so's making this amount of money. Really? Oh, he got enough money to pay sanction fees. How much he paying sanction fees? How much did he make, first of all? And what did he take home after he paid everybody off, including Uncle Sam? No one can say that, but they'll get up here and argue you down that so-and-so is doing high numbers. He's getting paid big money. But people, I got to bounce. It's been a pleasure, man. I've been on here like 2.5 hours, man. Appreciate y'all for pulling up as always. Salute to the content, man. You know, Bruce goes in the building. Free Hoover. Goddamn Ghost pulled up. Appreciate you. The boxing section was in the building. D-Ray. Thanks to everybody who pulled up, man. Much appreciated. One love to you. Till next time. Turn up and tune in to World Combat Sports, man. I am out.